So just to start off, my name is Hannah Wood. I am a team member here in the graduate school. I work in our admissions office. So I work with students kind of in that incoming and getting enrolled, and then in those first few weeks and months. So tonight's Grad Connect session is for our domestic students who have been recently admitted. So getting ready to start either later this summer or this fall. So like I said, my name is Hannah Wood. I work here in the admissions office. I have a unique perspective because I was a graduate student here. I completed my doctorate here at UA a handful of years ago. And then instead of going the faculty route, I ended up going the staff route. So I actually used my research background in data analytics here in the graduate school. So I have been in a similar place where you are. Um, I remember what that very beginning was like. It's a lot. You think that it's okay, I've done college before, I know how this rolls, but you're learning all kinds of new processes, procedures, and traditions. Um, so just so you know, there's a lot of things in place here to help with that. But also, this is a great campus with a lot of personable individuals. So feel free at any time to ask any questions. Um, so what we're covering today is kind of first steps, next steps, final steps. So yeah, you've been admitted, now what? And then any submitted questions. So everything that you're gonna see in this first steps section, this is all on our website under our new students page. So I've actually got it pulled up here as well, just that graduate.ua.edu new students. So all of this information is on our website, so you can go back and look to it at any time. You've also gotten this in an email. We've sent these out a couple times for first steps. So if you aren't familiar with any of these, or if you want to take notes, you definitely go back to the website. Um, First step, the next thing you need to do is fill out that intent to enroll form. Sometimes it's called a reply to offer because it's that offer of admission, but it's an intent to enroll. You'll get emails about that, but it's in your application portal, so your application status portal in the middle where you look to see what your decision is. It's in the middle, and you tell us, are you planning on enrolling? Are you still thinking about it? No, you're not planning on enrolling. This isn't even if you say, yes, I'm still planning on coming, and you don't come, that's okay. You're allowed to um, still decide and then still show up. But this helps us get a better idea of how many students are going to be coming, as well as those that may be needing funding opportunities, but also really helps us know what information you're going to need. If we need to be sure to connect you with somebody from the department, or if it's something you need someone from our office to work with you, that helps us know more about you and where you are in your decision-making process. Um, After you receive or after you complete coursework at your other institutions, you'll need to submit official and final transcripts. So these can be sent electronically. There's normally a request form through your institution to send to us. These have to be official, so they have to come from your previous institutions. And if you received a degree from them, they have to have that degree date on there. So one of the things we run into is that sometimes we get transcripts that we can see that you had in-process coursework for this past spring, but the transcript was sent before the degree was awarded. So we have to have those final transcripts sent. We give you up through like your first semester. So even if you don't graduate until, the end of this summer and you start with us in August, you've still got a couple months to submit those. We just need that within your first semester of classes. And again, those are just sent to the graduate school. A lot of times those are done by electronic transfer and electronic request, but you can also just email them to us at grad.transcripts or graduate transcripts at ua.edu. Next is going to be memorize your CWID number. It's your 8-digit campus-wide ID. Everybody's going to ask you for this. This is the secure number that's generated for you. This replaces using your social security number for a lot of things, but it is the key. It's going to be what almost everything is going to ask you for is your CWID. That's how we can verify that you are who you say you are, but also all of your security pieces are tied to that. Um, on the topic of security, on setting up Duo and MyBama. MyBama is the student self-service page, so it's like that main hub or that main portal where everything else links out from. If you're familiar with a single service or single sign-on service, that's where you log in with this, super username and super password, and it gets you into your email and your registration and Blackboard and all those pieces. Duo is that two-factor authentication because Yahoo security, everybody's about two-factor authentication these days. Duo is the software that we use. So whenever you first get kind of set, whenever you're first setting everything up, um, once you are admitted, and sometimes even before you're admitted, you get your CWID. The CWID is what you can take to then set up to find out what your MyBama username and password is. This is going to be like the beginning of your email address. So a lot of times it's like first initial, middle initial, last name, depending on if you're the first one that has that combination. Sometimes there's a number. But that MyBama username is the beginning of your email, but that's also how you get logged into every computer anytime you're accessing anything. Once you do that, then in order to get all of that established, you have to download and activate Duo, which means a lot of times downloading the app on your phone. It's great if you have a smartwatch. There's apps for smartwatches as well. So you can just tap it on your watch instead of having to dig your phone out. But that is that double layer of protection. You have to have all of those pieces. So your CWID number and then your MyBama login and your Duo in order to get into anything. What's great is that you're going to do this process so many times, you're going to have all of that memorized. But in the event that you get stuck at one stage or another, please let us know. I know that it's a process, and because of the security layers, sometimes it's daunting, but definitely let us know. Um, as part of, all right, yay, now I know my number, I know my username, let me set up my email. There is, once you get to that MyBama website, so that MyBama portal, student portal, there's a link out to your email. We use Microsoft Outlook, so O365. You're automatically logged in to all of those things. So anything that is email, Microsoft Word, any of those Microsoft um, um, applications. Um, your email address, we call it your Crimson email because it's that mybama at crimson.ua.edu. All student email addresses are that at Crimson. That is considered your official email address. So anytime that we send you something official from the university, like financial aid and scholarship information, all of that comes to your Crimson email because that one the university knows is more secure. You can set up an email forwarding. Um, it works sometimes because of the security settings. What we run into is that some emails, because of their security levels, won't redirect. So we tell students it's best to go ahead and just use that Crimson email. Check it often as well. Set it up on all of your devices. That way you get notifications because that's also how your instructors or your professors are going to be communicating with you. So that's everything kind of school related. And then once you've done all of that, then we can get registered for classes. Whenever you have that access to MyBama, again, that's our student portal. Whenever you have that, there is a link through there on how to register for classes. The step for registering for classes is on our new students page. We have information about how you can um, what buttons you need to click. So how do you get to the add or drop classes? Um, that is all done online. So students who are in graduate school don't necessarily have a hold placed on their account. A lot of times in undergrad or in other programs, maybe you will have had to see an advisor before you can get registered for classes. In graduate school, because that happens kind of as a more of a round flow, we don't put the hold on students account. So you're able to go ahead and register for classes. We suggest that you contact your program advisor or your program director or program coordinator, whatever their title is. So the person that you worked with through the admissions process or the person that you got your welcome email from or your admissions email from to talk to them about the next step and the next classes that you need to register for. Some programs don't automatically assign advisors. Some let you get through your first year and you pick whoever works with you best. Um, some students are like, absolutely no, I need somebody there on day one. Totally understandable. We just say contact your program director. Program directors are also listed on our website if you're looking for, like, if you've never heard that name before. our program directors are listed on our website. You can contact them and say, I have no idea what to sign up for. I don't know what classes to take. Help me through this. Um, some students would very much like that personal level of information. Some students are like, nope, just give me the list of stuff and I'll figure it out. We want to make sure that both of those avenues are open to you. So whatever fits you best, that information is on either the catalog page or it's in the curriculum guide or that program director information so that way you can contact them. Um, this seems like a whole bunch of stuff, but these are things that you actually take care of pretty quickly. And they're all part of that paperwork process of getting everything in and getting everything active. Next steps, these are more of this is going to make your life a little bit easier stuff. That first steps is required. The next steps is this is going to help. Your ACT card is your physical student ID card. Although we don't actually give physical cards out anymore, it's a digital card. There is an app, and I'm actually going to see if I can pull it up to show you what it looks like. But an app that you download and that you set up. We go to actcard.ua.edu. This is your digital student ID, so it's it's your security pass as well to get into the buildings. Depending on where you are, it's getting into some of the labs. Graduate students frequently have late hours access to different places, but this is also where you have your UA digital money. So your Bama Cash or dining dollars that you might have on there. So this is also how you kind of tap in or swipe in. And that's your ACT card. It does have a picture, so that way you can also show it on your phone to different businesses and restaurants around town to get student discounts because there are those and they're really awesome. Um, if you are wanting to use any of your previous courses to transfer in, so you're wanting to use them in your new degree program, either classes from your master's degree you want to use in your doctorate, or from your first master's you want to use in your second master's, you have to complete that transfer credit request form. And that's available on our website. Do that at the very beginning. That way, courses, you can go ahead and start that process. You don't technically have to do that until excuse me, have you been in a while? But the quicker you do that, the sooner they get added to your academic plan. And so you can see how much less is left for you to complete. Um, and that's actually a fairly easy process. It's just a paperwork process. It's also a conversation that you can have with your program director. If your program director thinks that it's a good fit and that they think it's a good transfer course, then no worries. Our registrar's office is not going to have an issue with that. You just have to document all that at the very front. Um, One thing that is not required but is heavily suggested is our orientation. It's called GROW, which is our graduate orientation workshop. It is incredibly helpful. It's one of those that I was very embarrassed whenever I started working here because they asked me about my GROW experience and I said, I didn't go. And they stared at me and said, I thought that I knew everything. And then I said, but I got here and I realized I didn't. I knew everything about my undergrad. I had completely got my stuff figured out for my master's program, so I didn't need to go to orientation for my doctorate. Yes, it did. It's amazing how different some things can be. It's also a really great place just to do networking. I went to the university or graduate school also offers a graduate research and teaching assistant workshop. That was incredibly helpful because that was a chance where I got to meet other students in my program. Even though we did a lot of our coursework was online, I got to meet other students in the program and talk more about, hey, what's it like? Um, are you balancing a family? How are you handling that? What does your commute look like? So orientation is really, really helpful. Um, Even if it's not required, it's really recommended, and it's super beneficial. Um, Paying for classes because isn't that the fun part? There are different ways to pay depending on if you are on an assistantship or a fellowship and you have a department that is covering your tuition. If you are paying tuition, if you're using employee benefits, all of these are linked out on our new students page. So that way you can see information about, can I set up a payment plan? What does that look like? Bills are going to be generated after you sign up for classes. So you have to sign up for classes so we know how many hours you should be billed for. Once that bill has been generated, then that's whenever things like your employee benefits will kick in or your tuition assistance will kick in. Um, Also, if you're going to be using loans, then you still have to fill out the FAFSA. Good old FAFSA still has to be done. We say fill it out ASAP because that does take a little while to process, and you want to make sure everything hits in the correct order. Um, what's great is that we've got some really good people in our billing department who can help you set all of that up, and we'll talk you through that process. Housing is a little bit different at the university where we don't have specific or set aside graduate student housing. We do have apartment style housing, but the majority of our graduate students opt to live off campus because of the way that Tuscaloosa is built up. Campus is this beautiful green oasis, and then right around it are bazillions, okay, that's a whole lot of apartment complexes and individual houses. So within walking distance of campus, there are um, small homes for rent, there are townhomes, there are condos, there are giant apartment complexes. There's a lot of housing options. None of these are owned by the university. So I won't be able to say, here's where I recommend that you stay. What we do is that we provide the support so that way you can kind of crowdsource ideas about where to live. So we have on our website links to our graduate students Facebook page that is specifically about housing. So this is also moderated by all of our graduate student ambassadors. So we have other students that are in there, but saying, hey, these are some places that are available. These are, any of my experiences. It's also kind of like a miniature apartments.com or apartment finder. So that way you can hear about this is what the, other graduate students saying, this is my experience with these rental companies. This is my experience with this place, or I need to sublet, or I'm looking to sublet. I need a roommate. And the majority of the students I talk to have found something through that website. That's where a vast majority of our students get their housing information because the university doesn't own or doesn't have a stake in any of those. Because that's why we say we want you to crowdsource this, so we're going to provide as much support for that crowdsourcing. Um, the last is going to be that immunization records. You'll get emails from our student health center, but we still need those immunization records. That's all done digitally. And it's it'll look like there's a registration hold on your account. It doesn't go active for a little while, but you do still have to submit that documentation. All those forms are online. All that information is online. Everything for it's through our student health and wellness center. But that is something that's kind of that last piece um, that we actually still need your immunization forms. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, please do ask, and I'll definitely send you the website information. Question, is there a list anywhere that compiles what businesses around town give a student discount? I, there used to be one on our website. I'm sorry. It's on our Graduate Student Association website. Let me rephrase that. So it's not actually on our graduate school page. We have a Graduate Student Association, which is actually different than like student government, but it's the social aspect, the social network that we support um, here here in the graduate school. So the Graduate Student Association, which is run by students for students, they actually have a list on their webpage because that's one of like the organizations owns it and maintains it. Um, I haven't looked at it in about a year or so, but they update it at least once a semester. But also that Facebook group that I mentioned that has housing information also gives information about businesses, discounts. I will also say any place that you go into that's a restaurant or that is even some of the grocery stores around town, just ask, be like, do you guys do a student discount? I definitely did it as an older student because I didn't look like an undergrad. But I was a doctoral student. I definitely still got that student discount. So definitely ask around town. They're used to hearing it in Tuscaloosa. Question on, do we need a TB test or just the TB screener form? I honestly do not know. That's where I suggest going back to the UA Student Health Center website. They have a link on their website for all the immunization forms, and there's also a link on our new students page. The TB skin test also depends on what academic program you're going to be in. Some of them, it's a program requirement to have it. Some of them just need the read form, like saying like it has been read, I got this done somewhere else, but you can also just do it at the Student Health Center. They do those TB skin tests as well. All right, final steps. We've got registration. We are in classes. You've got funding or no balances owed because you've got your tuition paid or you've got loans that are going to be covering it. Next, we'll be able to check to see if your courses are listed in Blackboard. Blackboard is our learning management system. Some of you may have used Canvas before, or Blackboard at previous institutions. Um, all of the classes, even if they're not an online class, are going to have that Blackboard shell online. Excuse me. That way, there are places to, that's where your instructors are going to upload documents for you to read. There's going to be frequently there's assignments, you'll be turning things in. That's where the grade book will be. So Blackboard will generate. It will take a couple days after you register for classes. So like if you register for class tonight, Blackboard may not be like your Blackboard course may not generate tomorrow. It may take a little bit longer than that. But you'll see those listed for all of your courses. Um, then the next thing that we say is go ahead and jot down deadlines. Our new students page, as well as our current students page, has like literally one of the links on our website is graduate school deadlines. That way you know, okay, when do I need to submit this form or that form? When is thesis due? When is my committee form due? When do I have to have stuff in for graduation? That way you already know those ahead of time, because we have those for a couple of years out, and then you can plot backwards. Um, the our office here, is our graduate school office is split with admissions and incoming students and then current students. Now I say split because literally we're just on one side of the hallway, east side of the hallway, but the handoff, we're really intentional about making sure that once you get admitted, then you get a place that you are plugged in. And that is where our graduate student activities, our graduate student association comes in, and all of our student services. We've got some really awesome people that work over there that um, supervise programs, but also do a lot of one-on-one mentoring. So we have a graduate parent support student organization, which was super helpful to me because I was balancing all of the things. It's nice to just to have another group that you can that have similar situations to you. Tied together is our mentorship group. So it's for those who are first generation graduate students. You are paired with a faculty member on campus to kind of just navigate this entire process that is higher education. Our graduate student association that I mentioned earlier, and then also our health and wellness. Our office does not only like social activities, but health and wellness activities. And then as you get on through your courses and you get further along in your program, will also do professional development, which are things like helping you prepare for presenting at a conference, salary negotiations, interviews, things like that. So we try and keep not only the social, but also your academic and professional self in mind, as well as your mental health and well-being. Um, the important dates are on the grad school website or the grad student website. Those are on the grad school website. So this graduate.ua.edu/students. I'm just going to get back up here to the top. And then there are, oh, grad acts are those things that I was talking about that are the professional development pieces. Student resources, student deadlines. There you go. So I'm on our website a lot because of I get to work with our marketing and recruitment team. If there's ever something that you can't find, please let us know. We work pretty hard to make sure that that's updated and that the links go somewhere and that they all make sense. So if there's ever something that you can't find, please reach out and say, hey, this was mentioned that it was on the website and it's not. Um, because we do update our website. All right. I have talked for a long time. Um, what other questions do you have? Either drop them in the Q&A, or if there's something specific that I haven't mentioned or something that you want me to go back to, what are some of the things that I can answer for you? If you want to take a couple minutes and think about them, I'll go ahead and pull up the questions that were already submitted ahead of time, and we can go through some of those, but definitely want to use this opportunity to answer whatever questions are burning or in your brain. One of the questions that it was asked earlier was about what parking permits are recommended. And so you can see I have this permit information up on my screen as well. Um, so Bama Parking is the name of our parking services. Um, there isn't a graduate student specific parking, it is just student parking. So the student permit information. If you go to our website, new students, then there is a link down here on parking. Just gonna, there we go, purchase a parking permit. The website for purchasing doesn't actually open for a couple more weeks, but you can still get the permit information. And then it gives you the information on the parking permit rates. These are done by zones, and so there is a map. My suggestion is to take a look at your building to see like what classes, where the majority of your classes are going to be. Like just looking at your academic program, what building are they in? And then seeing what kind of zone that's going to be around. Like, for example, I then made the mistake and didn't look, and I bought a commuter east parking pass instead of a commuter west parking pass. And my academic building was located on the west side of campus. So I saved 25 bucks and I walked all the time. So definitely take a look at those before you purchase. Some of those reserve spots, or you can see the handicap accessible. Reserve is going to be those that are for the parking decks, and you'll get more information whenever you log in to that to purchase on the website. But we have surface lots, and then we also have parking decks. Decks are going to be more expensive, but you get to park on a deck. My suggestion is to go ahead and get a parking permit because the um, parking around campus that's not owned by the university is very, very, very scarce and very highly policed. Tow trucks are real active up around here. So I definitely suggest getting that parking permit. Um, the question was asked, we have to have an Alabama license to register a car on campus? Nope, you don't have to have an Alabama license. You just have to be able to provide your driver's license, and you list your license plate whenever you are completing the form. Um, let's see. So question on the, how do I apply for employee benefits? I will be a graduate assistant. So this is something to note, is that even as a graduate assistant, you are considered a graduate student as primary. Um, if you're working for the university as a teaching assistant or a research assistant, or you even have a class that you are instructor of record, you're considered a graduate student first and foremost. So those benefits that come with you have the benefits associated with being a graduate student. So like the graduate student health insurance you can access, the graduate student housing you can access, student parking is what you'll access, but graduate student, so graduate assistants, so either teaching, research, or those graduate fellowships, you are still considered a grad student first and foremost. That was a tough thing for me to understand, and it was kind of difficult to bring myself what I thought was back down a level because I had worked as a full-time employee at another university for 5 or 6 years before I came back for my doctorate. And so I had to come back in and be like, yep, I'm a student. But actually, there's a lot of benefits to being a student first, because of the flexibility, but also because of the supports that are available to graduate students. Not only like the tuition benefits or like the tuition supports and the assistantships, but also a lot of the professional development. And then just the student license for things is really nice. Um, if you're a student, then you get, and this is all on our UA software page. There's a list of things that because you're a student, you have access to all of these. Like I got the Adobe Creative Cloud, which was wonderful. I didn't have to pay for InDesign. As an employee, I did. So again, it's not that's a very small example, but there are a lot of great benefits for being a graduate student. All right. Our study abroad process is the same for undergraduate and graduate students, including equivalencies. So the study abroad happens more at an individual program level, at the graduate level. So in the event that your academic program that you're doing has a partnership with another graduate academic program in another school, then you'll do more of um, like a exchange program rather than a transfer, have like taking classes somewhere and having them transfer back. They're done a little bit differently, in that it's not as flexible, maybe, as what you were used to in undergrad. Um, but those are really determined by your specific academic program. Like my academic program, we didn't have any other partnerships established, but every summer we would have 2 or 3 faculty members that would teach a class abroad. So like I could take my campaigns course in Greece, but it was still taught by my faculty member. So those are the different ways that I see most often is either those that are partnerships. So like some of our academic departments have institutes that they work with in, actually one of them is in Greece, where our dean is right now, because we have an exchange program back and forth. But some of them are specific to the faculty members within that as academic programs, like our one of our geology professors um, is from England, and so he still maintains a lot of his contacts prior. So he always takes a group of students. One of the courses he teaches, he takes them abroad. So that's specific only to his course, and it's only to his students. So it varies depending on the academic program. That'll be something that your program director will be able to talk a little bit more about, if you're interested in other opportunities abroad. Um, let's see. Um, oh, that question. Any other questions? Let's see if I've got anything else that's coming up here. How many classes are recommended per term when working full time? So for graduate school, full time is 9 hours. So if you were used to undergrad, where full time was 12 hours, but you normally took 15, um, full time in grad school is 9 hours, and you take 9 hours a lot of times, just because the amount of work in each of those courses is exponentially higher than it was compared to other program or compared to previous experiences. If you are working full time, most individuals that are working full time will do one graduate course a semester. Those that do 2 courses a semester are very few and far between. But because of the amount of it, like work within an individual course, if you're working full time, one course, even if you're working part time, 2 courses, maybe 3 is what's suggested. Um, how do you best manage your work-life balance in grad school? It's an excellent one. We suggest to find something that is not academic in nature. So if that is, sorry, not academic connected. So that means that you get connected to the Graduate Student Association and you do a lot of the social activities. Or that means that you may get involved with student rec here on campus and you join UA fencing. It may mean that you um, get involved with a local nonprofit organization. That was a big thing for me, is that there was a on one of the first weeks on campus, they do a big um, kind of fair out on the quad with all of the student organizations and then a lot of the community organizations. So I just wandered around and learned about other places, learned about other organizations. So then I had something that I could do that was completely separate from my life as a graduate student. That way I had something that almost forced me to pull away and to step outside of myself. That worked for me. Um, there's a lot of different ways to manage that. We actually have some of our grad acts, so our professional development, and those health and wellness sessions about how to maintain work-life balance, how to keep your head above water, because all of those things are really important. But those are things that um, we graduate school are very cognizant of, and so we want to make sure that you are supported. So definitely take a look at the emails whenever we send them out about health and wellness activities. A lot of students will do that, or some students, I should say, will do that. I don't need those, I'm fine. Definitely take a look at those because they are there to help. Um, all right, some of these questions I'm going to send private answers to. So if I haven't answered your question, I will get to it, but it's something that might be specific. And so I want to take time and answer on my own. Um, are there any other questions for the group or anything else that I didn't answer? Um, question, are out-of-state students typically required to change their driver's license while attending the university? Not to my knowledge. I One of my best friends in grad school was from Washington State, and he never changed it the entire time he was here. So um, it is, from what I understand, it's not a problem just as long as it is valid, a valid driver's license, then you're good to go. Um, I'm an AMP and currently enrolled in 2 grad classes and 3 undergrad classes. How feasible is this on its own and with other extracurriculars? It's very possible. Um, for our AMP students, for those of you who aren't familiar with AMP, that's our accelerated master's program, and it's a hybrid, there's a jump program from undergrad to grad where you can take master's classes as an undergrad student. Um, Normally, you've performed well enough as an undergrad that you can handle the workload of a graduate student. And that's why you have access to those courses. Um, Depending on what all the extracurriculars are, um, it will be another level of learning how to juggle and learning how to balance. Completely doable, but maybe not. It's going to be kind of that first semester is going to be a lot of figuring it out. Just kind of like it is with every semester whenever you start, even if you know, 12 hours one semester and 15 hours the other semester, sometimes that 12 can feel harder or more work than those 15. It just depends on what content you're covering, who your instructor is, and how much planning you do in order to keep that balance. We have a student success center here on campus that has peer coaching. And so there are kind of like consultants, like other student consultants that you can go and sit down with and to go through things like, let me manage my schedule, or how do I um, better maintain balance and everything, and to get another student perspective. You also have access to our UA Counseling Center, which is amazing. There's like 27 now qualified counselors there. And as a student, counseling sessions are the first two are free, and then after that, it's like $15. So it's very, very affordable. And the staff there are trained specifically to work with students. I remember my second year of my doctorate program was whenever I started, and the counselor that I sat down with was specifically trained in working with graduate students, which was awesome because I just needed a place to be like, these are all of the things that are going on. Is this normal? Is this okay? And that's a really good safe space to check in to say, hey, I've got all these pieces. I'm balancing all of those things. Because that counseling center staff sees a lot, knows a lot, and are very well qualified, and are good touch points for students. They actually host some of our health and well-being seminars, as well as they host the student group during I think it's called dissertation is a lonely process or something to that effect. So for students who are going through the dissertation process, because you are in a class of one and it can be very isolating, they do like thesis and dissertation workshops or support workshops, just to give students a chance to connect. So our graduate school is very involved with our counseling center to help with some of those balance pieces because everybody is different. I may have just went off on a really big tangent about that question, but it's something that we've had a lot of conversations about here in the graduate school as staff members because the health and well-being of our students is very important. Um, I am going to go ahead and drop so our main email address in the chat here is just gradschool@ua.edu. And my name is Hannah. In the event if there's a question that you wanted to ask or you didn't get a chance to, or you think of something a little bit later, just shoot us an email. So all of our emails come into one account. If you just put my name and address it to Hannah, it's going to come to me. So that way I can follow up and answer any of those questions that you have. And if I don't know the answer, I'll get you to the right person. So this isn't your one stop to get all of your questions answered. You can also, again, check out the website, give us a call. I will say that there's construction going on in our building right now, which affects our phone lines. So if you don't get anybody whenever you call, it's not your fault. It's probably ours. So go ahead and send us an email and we'll be able to answer that question. But also those social media pages are run by our graduate student ambassadors. So those are run by graduate students, content created by other graduate students, and that can help answer some questions for you. Um, Thank you all so much for your time and attention. I look forward to seeing you either virtually or physically whenever you're here. I am located in the Rose Administration Building, so I'm the big one where the president is, although he's 2 floors up. But I am right behind the giant elephant topiary, so definitely come in and see us whenever you're here, and I'd love to hear from you. Have a lovely night.